Howdy, and welcome back to You've Got People Problems, the podcast where we tackle the leadership challenges that no one wants to talk about, but every business faces. I'm your host, Melissa Ortiz with Activate Human Capital Group, and this is episode 25. Today, we're diving into the realities of leading global teams and navigating complex cultural dynamics with my guest, Phil Samuelraj, founder of TechJs, an AI company with the mission to help every business and every individual improve with the help of AI. Phil is a seasoned technology leader and strategist with extensive experience guiding multinational teams through innovation, transformation, and growth. Together, we explore how to bridge cultural gaps in communication, create alignment across time zones, and keep diverse teams working toward shared goals. Phil shares his insights on balancing process with flexibility, the importance of listening deeply, and the role of empathy in driving performance in a global workforce. If you lead or aspire to lead across cultures and continents, this conversation will give you practical tools to strengthen relationships, improve collaboration, and achieve results no matter where your team is based. Let's get into it. Howdy, everybody. My name is Mel Ortiz, and I'm so excited to welcome you to You've Got People Problems. This edition is featuring Philip Samuelraj. Did I say this right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. I'd love to have you give just a quick overview of your company and where you're headed. And then I'd love to dive into kind of the culture discussion that we started the other day and explore that a little bit.
Fantastic, Mel. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. I'm Philip Samuelraj. I'm the founder CEO of Techjays. And we are building a great company here with a mission to help every individual and every business transform with AI. And
That's a big mission.
yes, and we're strong believers that AI is going to disrupt the world and knowledge work in general. And we would help every individual and every business by creating value for them and then capturing that value.
And primarily your customers are B2B, they're businesses. Do you work with individuals as well?
Yeah, primarily our customers are B2B businesses. But we also, a lot of the products that we build that we would talk about are products that would actually help individuals in these companies.
Okay.
So that's where our mission comes from, in helping every individual and every business transform with AI.
Great. Well, thank you for being here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Ortiz, and I'm obsessed with helping the right people get in the right seats, making sure that they're engaged and thriving in their jobs, because if they are, they go home with more energy for their families, their physical well-being, their faith, whatever is important to them. And this mutual benefit for the organization and customers and for the individual has kept me going for the last 20 years almost. So this is a very valuable space to me. I'm looking forward to this culture conversation because context in which individuals can thrive.
Oh, so looking forward to it too, Melissa.
Great. So let's dive right in. Tell me in your words, Philip, what does culture mean to you and how do you know when it's going well and when it isn't?
Yeah. When I started TechJs, it was started with just a simple hypothesis, right? One, I can build great software and provide a great experience to our clients, which I've done over the course of 2 decades now. Number two is I can put together teams of people who can help accomplish that. And those people, will be happy, they will be thriving, they'll be challenged, they'd be excited to work with me and to actually build great products and provide a great customer experience. So that was the two hypotheses that we started with. So for me, what culture really means is, would TechJs be a platform for people to come over and be the best version of themselves? And simply put, work should be challenging and hard. We are here to solve hard problems. The workplace should be fun, engaging, meaningful, and it should be feel very easy. People should love coming over to work. People should love connecting with people. That's how I view culture.
I love the distinction you're making between the work and the workplace. The difference between what I'm head down working on should be engaging and challenging. When I'm not head down, it should be engaging in a different way, a more is playful too strong a word, or how do you see what a thriving workplace should look like?
What I've seen is people, there's a spectrum. For me, I would love a playful workplace. For example, my CTO, for him, it is more like the freedom to go over and explore everything. He's not
Okay.
exactly looking for, a playful workplace, but the freedom to explore, the freedom to go over and build what he wants, to experiment, and so on. So the workplace being fun and engaging and fun and easy applies in a different it has a spectrum for different people, and
Yeah.
tailoring that is actually a harder problem that we were actually trying to do with the culture team that we built.
Because some people are just more serious by nature,
Yes.
and some people really want to be playful and silly, and
Yes.
meeting them where they are is such a personalized experience that just painting with a broad brush, what I'm hearing you say, is not.
Yes. So coming back to the, idea of how can the workplace be a platform for people to come over and be the best version of themselves? It's not putting everybody into just one box. If,
Yeah.
like not everybody is like me, and I understand that. We've got a spectrum of personalities with different wants, different things that motivate them, that engage them. So on that spectrum, how can we truly build a place where someone like me who finds the workplace would love a playful and fun and engaging workplace have that, and my CTO who wants like all he's looking for is the freedom to go and experiment, freedom to go and do what he wants,
Yeah.
and go in more. Like his hobby is actually building more code, writing more code. So how do we encourage that as well? So that's the whole idea of actually building a fun, engaging, and easy workplace.
Yeah. So you mentioned people's personalities, and I find, especially in the tech space and engineering, also, we aren't as intuitive, maybe some of us, about, okay, well, what are these people's personalities? How do they differ from me and from each other? And how do you go about learning about people's personalities? Do you use an assessment you really like? Is there an AI tool you've built to learn about their personalities? And how do you help them learn about each other in that process of
Interesting,
realizing their
interesting,
differences?
interesting question. We're looking at building an AI tool with, with some mental models to understand people's personalities or what that motivates. For now, we're about 216, 220 people strong and growing. So what we've been doing is actually solving it with a culture team. And the culture team actually reports directly to me. And their
Okay.
entire job is to be what we call, it started off as a program called HR Buddies to now be, culture team buddy. And their entire job is to meet with people, engage with them, and understand what motivates them, what doesn't. How can we make the teams, how can we make the workplace as engaging and fun for them? And based on this, we've taken, this is a much more, human. Everybody meets with at least 10 people for half an hour a day. They have their tracker of all of the things that, the people have said and try to work it out, by, we meet every 2 weeks to see, hey, how best can we actually tailor and make sure our culture is maintained. So it's a heavy human intensive work right now, but we're looking at actually AI solving it with mental models because as we scale, the human approach will not scale as much.
Yeah. And remind me what it's called, the culture
Team.
team?
We've just called
Culture,
it the culture team to
culture
make
team?
it simple. Yes.
Okay. Culture team. I like that.
Yes.
So wait, am I understanding you correctly that this is actually, I could be a full-time staff member as a culture team
Yes.
specialist? Okay.
Yes, full-time staff members. We have two. We are growing the team who are entire job, and they report directly to me, so they are not reporting to anybody else. And
They're
so
not reporting to HR, most
HR,
interestingly.
exactly.
Yeah.
They're reporting directly to the CEO. And so why they're reporting directly to the CEO is that people will feel empowered to go out and share. And I share in our town halls that, hey, this is something I'm really passionate about. We are one team on one boat. And everybody in this boat, I want to be taken care of And each of all of us have different roles, and all of these roles, you should feel empowered to do it, and you're doing it to the best of your abilities. And that's where we are going to where we are going in the best possible way.
The thing I think that's so interesting to me about that is 99 times out of 100, the culture team is a subset of full-time employees who have an additional interest in this being a great place to work. And for you to make a commitment to full-time employees who are really driving this culture, that it isn't an HR checkbox, but it's a passion project, was what I'm hearing for you personally,
Yes.
I think is incredibly commendable and probably a great recruiting tactic because we're really making an investment, not
Yes.
just
Yes, Mel.
paying
And
lip service to it.
I'm a firm believer in this. Here's why, because the same, going back to the same analogy of one team on one boat, we want everybody to be the best that they are. That's where we're going, where we are going in the best possible way. So, from an investment perspective as well, I do believe our returns are, if you look at it purely from an investment perspective, our returns are exponential in this. And most of all, it is the right thing to do. If you're building a great company, where else to start but for the people who are actually there?
Yeah, yeah. Take me down that path a little bit of the returns you're seeing. How do you perceive those are coming through? Is it employee retention? Is it recruiting? Where are you seeing
Yeah.
those that you think it's really making a difference?
One, employee satisfaction is they always feel that they are heard, they are seen, and we and one of the culture team is again empowered to go over and actually right any wrong that has happened. So what happens is that yes, right, if this company that they see a huge difference within, the company that we are versus where they previously worked. So
Yeah,
employee satisfaction is very high and they feel it is a safe space to share. And our attrition levels, especially for a company that is heavily offshore, uh, are very low. And
that's
there have been instances where people actually bounce back as well. They like, hey, they go over for different opportunities, and this like, no, I would rather come back and work with TechJs because it is such a wonderful workplace to work at.
and I could see as I'm kind of thinking through how this, if you're saying that if there are issues that come up, the culture team has been empowered to fix them. What I often see in the employee engagement space, because I spend a lot of time in our business measuring employee engagement and helping companies go through the action planning process at the team level. And so often it'll be one issue that wasn't resolved that then causes a major distraction for that employee or the whole team, that then they aren't as productive because they're so busy being frustrated
Yeah.
about this issue and regurgitating it to each other. And then becomes these us versus them environments. And if you can start to nip those in the bud, that can be a pretty powerful motivator to A, we care, but also distraction has been eliminated.
Yes. And it is also surprising to add on to that point that with respect to all of these distractions, how many are so simple and tactical? It is almost like
Give
what
me a for instance that comes to
like,
mind.
yeah. So my analogy that I find with respect to the culture team is, say, we're all climbing a mountain. It's not the climb that, grinds people down. It's the pebble in people's shoes. And from a culture team perspective, it's like, hey, we'll help remove all of those pebbles.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
So
Great
that's
analogies.
exactly what we're seeing with the culture team. Like even very simple things that you're like, oh, um, I had a laptop issue and IT wouldn't handle it for, immediately. Is a matter of frustration. And we
Yeah.
actually go back and see like, hey, how does our IT department function? What is it? Why wasn't it handled? And that should have been taken care of. Very simple tactical issue, which we find that, as the organization grows as well, there will be all of these gaps that things tend to dropped, which we believe that this is the very simplistic example of what a culture, a tactical item. But then there are also these things. Hey, my manager doesn't seem to understand the way I'm working. And I want to work really hard, but this is not, where I work the best. So you have
Yeah.
this spectrum of things from purely tactical to also strategic, hey, best ways of working, which are harder problems to solve. Um,
Yeah.
And sometimes it is basically facilitating communication and helping the manager or also, the leader also understand and helping also the person who is reporting understand like, hey, you have to be able to articulate what you're feeling, what you're thinking to your manager. Your manager
Yes.
definitely has your best interest in mind, but if you don't say, managers don't have eyes all around that they're not all knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I often have a conversation around owning your own engagement with employees to say, we can't just divine where you're at. You have to tell us what you need. If it's another monitor, if it's,
yes.
the technology support you didn't get, if it's, any of the resources you need to be effective, you have to be assertive in saying, hey, it's not that you mentioned at one time in passing, but we were doing something else entirely. Timing's everything, and you have to advocate for yourself
Yes.
because otherwise, it puts so much pressure on a manager to just be all knowing and all seeing. It's ridiculous. So that owning your own engagement discussion tends to go really well because it's empowering to them.
Yes. Yes. And so one of the values that we're stressing on through the culture team is that, hey, we're building a high agency company. Nobody is going to come over down on you like, hey, why did you do that? This is high agency. You can go over and actually accomplish what you want to do. So
Yeah,
work on a pull rather than a push. Don't
yeah.
wait for people to push things onto you. You have to work on a pull and you have to pull. And what we found is that on even from our interviewing and so on, if we find that people have a high agency and they truly care, a lot of these problems are actually solved.
And if people around them truly care and they know they have an opportunity to voice those concerns in a productive way, it's so much easier for them to focus on doing good work. So, okay, so between the climbing a mountain and the pebble in your shoe analogy, and then the other one that we didn't really cover as well as I think we should have is the we're one team in one boat. Because when I look at employee engagement data, we actually classify people in this population percentage of the population is fully engaged, this percent is engaged, not engaged, and actively disengaged. And the actively disengaged are the ones who are rowing against the direction we want to go.
Yes.
The ones who are not engaged are asleep in the boat. The ones
Yep.
who are engaged are rowing. And the ones who are fully engaged are all in. They're looking at direction. They're looking at tides. They're looking at, everybody's health and well-being, and they're rowing like crazy. And the more we can get those engaged and fully engaged people bringing over our not engaged, our quiet quitters, and our actively disengaged, the faster and further we can go together. And so I just love the boat analogy because it's so physical and visible.
Yes. Oh, fa fantastic. On the mental model for the four, right?
Yeah.
Who are actively, fully engaged, actively engaged, who are engaged, and then who are not engaged, and who are
Actively disengaged. Those people are mad.
actively disengaged, who are actually rowing against. Very good mental
Yeah.
model, Mel. I like that because I use that. When I was first started, right? Like, oh, I'm never gonna fire anybody. I'm gonna torture everybody to greatness. Everybody's gonna be. And then one of the things that I found, like the one intern uh, taught me a very hard lesson when somebody's like actively disengaged. It is incredibly hard. And after that, it is unfair to the people who are actively engaged and fully engaged to actually carry that person on the boat because they're working against.
And that actively disengaged person can drive our top performers away because if you're tolerating that behavior, you can't possibly appreciate the work that I'm doing as an A player.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you know what's really fascinating to me, Phil, is that in the actively disengaged space, it's actually easier to flip them into the fully engaged category than it is the people who are apathetic.
Mm.
Because not engaged, apathy, the quiet quitters, they just don't care as much.
Yeah.
Whereas actively disengaged, they're angry, they're frustrated, and they feel like no one's hearing them. And usually it's because their tone and their approach is so difficult to hear that no one wants to hear them. And so I kind of teach leaders to hear
Hmm.
hear what they're really trying to say because often their frustrations are valid, their ideas are realistic, but they have no idea how to professionally project so we can fix those things. And so I
Yep.
sense that maybe the culture team can get there sometimes.
Yes.
And
Yes, Mel. We talk about channeling energy when it comes
Yeah.
to, like, these actively disengaged people because they have the energy if it is in the because and they're, as you say, they're rowing in the opposite direction. So they are working on it, but then
Yes. There's
again,
energy
yeah,
there.
exactly. So how do we channel that energy in the most positive way? And as you know, right, people are the human brain is the most complex thing in the whole universe,
And then heaven
right?
forbid you
It's a
throw in our
fact.
emotions and the
Exactly. So it is hard, but one thing that we've been able to establish as a company is that, hey, this is a company that truly cares for people, truly cares about building great products, and truly cares about, providing a great customer experience. So that we've been able to establish, and it has been I don't know, it's easier, as you say, to channel energy in the most positive way. And you're right that the apathetic people are the really hard ones to so on because sometimes it feels like no, more than sometimes. A lot of times, what it feels like, the people who have the apathy, they're carrying it from their life. Not it is not that the workplace has made them so.
yeah.
And so when they're carrying it from their life, solving that is again, as you said, really, really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So tell me about, I think about employee engagement as kind of a barometer. It goes up and down, it changes day by day. Um, what about right fit for people tends to be a more holistic journey and something we can not quite check the box on, but we can get it right or we can get it wrong. And it doesn't tend to change a lot. How do you get the right people into the right seats at TechJs? How do you approach
Yeah.
that?
So we are a large engineering organization, right? So from an engineering standpoint, it is the easier problem to solve because it is a matter of skills. And you can be as subjective as possible with that. Like there are metrics. Like for example, if there's a developer, there are like the DORA metrics, the space metrics that actually measure developer productivity. And then
Okay.
some aspects with respect to, hey, does this person more product minded and would love to engage with clients, or they want to go over like in a pure technical route from an infrastructure perspective? So that is an easier problem to solve because it is more around metrics and right seeds with respect to, hey, these are like the outputs that the developer needs to drive. The harder product problem is actually on the customer facing, the product solutions perspective, where the liberal arts uh, mentality, where the creative spaces actually come out. So it is a mix of what are people's capabilities, what are their aspirations, but what seats do we have? And we try to figure out, what is the best. And then we set people up and saying, hey, we want to set you up for success. But that means, again, you have to work on a pull rather than a push, and we'll see how you are doing. And we'll have a time
Yeah.
frame where we're measuring, we're looking at, hey, how you're doing and see how best you can add value. That has been the way we are working. I don't think that we're like perfect at this point of time because that requires hard problem solving continuously and actually filling developer seats are the easier problem for us. But it's an interesting problem that we're still trying to figure out if there are like different mental models that will actually help us solve the problems better.
Yeah. And then what about on the pre-hire side? That sounds very much part of their career path at TechJs. What about pre-hire? How do you assess their ability to be successful in the role, in the organization culturally? How do you get a sense for that? Because I anticipate you must have a lot of resumes and applicants come through for any
Yes.
given open role. How do
Yes.
you cull those down to the people who might be the diamonds in the rough?
Yes. And that is how we've solved it with AI. And we're like super excited about it.
Yeah.
So this is what we found, right? We have a lot of candidates. And our hiring, as you know, with respect to human hiring, you miss, say, for example, people are doing resume scans. First off, our recruiters would do resume scans. And
Okay.
then
And they
uh,
look at every resume with their
yeah,
eyeballs.
resumes,
Okay.
eyeballs, and but then that is again not a perfect fit. We're actually losing good candidates there. And then there's a first round interview that is being done, a screening that is being done. We lose,
Okay.
come back. And then there was round one, round two, round three, and round four, mostly around Google structured interviewing. We also found that we couldn't invest as much time with respect to just interviewers. We found that some interviewers after training were really good, but when they become overextended as we are growing fast, our the interviewer burnout comes over, and we were not getting that great candidates. So we turned to an AI solution, an end-to-end AI solution. So now what happens when somebody applies for a job at TechJs is that we have our job, as soon as there's a job description, we have built our own AI end-to-end hiring AI interviewer called Hire Finch. What Hire Finch will do is you just feed in a job description. It'll come up with screening and 4 levels of interview, all based on Google structured interviewing. And all of these different, with respect to these, with the interview is with respect to general cognitive ability that we used to measure inside of Google, which is like, so measure cognitive ability. We've added high agency. Do they have high agency and they truly care? Can they display that? And then dives into their subject matter expertise, their experience. So with that, we have completely changed the game. So what happens is, say, for example, we have a job description, we feed it into Hire Finch, it automatically generates interviews. Anybody who applies directly gets an interview. So it is a lot.
But is it an AI interview?
It's an AI interview, end to end. Hire Finch just talks to the people and gives us a really good breakdown with respect to the rubrics. And the rubrics that we use, again, are Google standard interviewing rubrics with respect to answers. And so we get a score. Ultimately, what we do is from job interview, we finally talk to the final 4 to 5 people that we talk to. And we have been amazed. It is the same pipeline, but now we're talking to 4 or 5 people. We're like, oh, all of these people seem to be great.
Yeah. And then it's who do we like the most?
Who
Because
do we
we've already
like the most?
pre-qualified.
Exactly. Who do we like the most, or who do we believe is the best fit? Sometimes we're
Yeah.
like, we've got 2 great candidates. Let's actually hire the 2 great candidates because we'll be able to. So it has completely changed the game. And
Amazing.
we've also rolling it out to our customers who also see, like it, because we have taken away the interviewer bias. Even people scanning through resumes, it is not about just having a resume that fits all of the ATS keywords anymore.
Yeah.
And so how do you go directly, to an interview? And I believe this is the future of recruiting. And a few things that we are trying to add right now is feedback from our own. Hey, this is how their interview performance was. Now, how are they performing in the job? So how can we actually provide that feedback? Because ultimately what we want to solve for is in hiring the best people for that particular job. And the interview performance should be an indicator of their future job performance. And for that as well, we're trying to solve that with AI, which is, so at every end of every day, we have, that is called Spark Finch, where every day people go over and there is a conversational AI chat about, hey, these are the things that I did today. So it is more like a journal that people journal every single day. From a CEO's perspective, have a view of all of the people, hey, what they're working on, where they are, what they're spending time on. And so we're growing that with respect to a lot of integrations for developers with respect to developer tools. For example, say for others, with respect to their calendars, their meetings, their meeting recordings, bring in sentiments and all of that to have a good indicator of their job performance as well, which is fed into Hire Finch. So an end-to-end a human, productivity management system, which gives more. And SparkFinch, we made it more like a coach, right? What we want to do is like, hey, this is great, but here are your goals. These are the things that need to be done. Are we aligned to that? Or these are our quarterly OKRs. So it is a fascinating time to be when we're finding AI to actually help solve problems, human problems, in the best possible way.
Can I tell you how many leaders are going to listen to this podcast and be so jealous that you have all this resource to work on the business? They're just busy trying to serve their customers and meet their profit margins. And it's so inspiring to hear the work that you've done to work on the business and on, so much of what I told you originally. The purpose of this podcast is to remind people that leaders solve people problems. HR doesn't solve people problems.
Yes.
And you're finding some really good systems and developing great systems to help do that. So I really like what you said about beware of interviewer bias because and interviewer fatigue. And at
Yes.
some point, they all just sound the same and all the resumes look the same. And I'm exhausted, but it turns out AI doesn't get so tired. And some of these
Yes.
assessments, like I use predictive index, it doesn't get tired. It's just trying to say who's got the aptitude, both behaviorally and cognitively, that they could do the job the way you want it done, at the level you want it done, and get up to speed the way you need. And then we can spend some human time to say, okay, well, if these people can do the work, who's a good culture fit? Who do we have confidence in? And those can be such great gifts to organizations. So I'm
So
really excited to learn more about Hire Finch and Spark Finch because it seems like you're on an exciting path.
absolutely, Mel. And one of the most interesting things that we're seeing is that we're now, even in the top five candidates or top three candidates, some of them are like actually candidates you would have skipped in earlier rounds because their resume did not look exactly like a match or so on. And we're like, oh, this opens up our eyes. This is
Yeah.
so fascinating. And I do believe this is the future of recruiting. And we're like so excited to actually, we built a product we love that we
Yeah.
can't live without. And now we want to go over and share it with the world. So like, hey, this is amazing recruiting that you should take a look at.
Yeah. Okay, so take me down the path. We've got the right people in the right seats. You've got some amazing tools to do that. You're continually supporting and monitoring performance and culture elements. How about role clarity? One of the things I see in our employee engagement work is so often disengagement stems from, I don't know how to win at work. I don't know exactly what you expect of me. How do you gain role clarity for each team member, especially in an industry that's moving so fast like AI? What's
Yeah.
your approach to that, Phil?
Yeah, that has been a lesser problem here, Mel, because of the same, right? Developers have very clear roles, and 80% of our organization is developers.
Okay,
Maybe it's like 70%, 70 to 80% of our organization is developers,
sure.
engineers, and they have very clear roles. They know exactly the problems that we're solving, hey, how they are measured, and all of that. The harder things are around all of the subjective areas with respect to product, with respect to design, and so on. But because all of these roles have been clearly defined, for example, hey, what does a product manager have to do with respect to a particular product, right? How
Uh-huh.
to define product roadmap, define product scope, make sure, product is delivered by this particular time, how much. And so what we have seen is more or less more of a role clarity because there is all of these are defined roles in the software industry. People have done that before, and is more around empowerment. Are they truly empowered to go and actually solve these problems? Or, like, for example, sometimes people are stuck in movie logic, like, movie logic as in like from their previous companies. Oh, I'm waiting for approval. There are no approvals here. You are empowered to go over and actually solve this problem. You don't have to
Yeah.
wait to or ask somebody to solve this problem. If you know how to solve it and tell the world how you did it, or tell the
That
world
goes
how
back
you're
to the
going to.
agency that you're searching for in the beginning. Amazing.
Exactly. That relates to the agency. So
Yeah.
as long as people are empowered, we've found that that solves things better. Role clarity has been, I do believe it'll be a problem as we scale bigger. But at this point of time, people's roles are very clearly defined and they
Yeah.
almost have more than what they can chew. Everybody has almost more than what they can chew. So that hasn't been a big problem.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think we could spend a lot more time on this topic, but I want to be respectful to your time and what we committed to. I usually take notes as we go through on some of the tips and tricks and great quotes that I hear. So I'd love for you to reflect on these as I mention them and tell me if I missed anything that you think was important that what we talked about. So, okay, first one that I noted was work should be hard.
Yep.
And the workplace should be a place where we can be the best version of ourselves. Team
Yep.
members can be the best version of themselves. I love the way that you phrase that. Um, Thinking in terms of one team in one boat, and the fact that the pebble in our shoe can cause a lot of the frustration in the climb, not so much the climb itself.
Yep.
And then the third one I grabbed was around that interviewer bias. And for organizations to consider AI, something like Hire Finch, to consider something like predictive index, to really alleviate that bias so we can help people um, rise to the top, even if they aren't the standard perfect candidate. They may be the perfect candidate just because they haven't checked every box. Doesn't mean we should kick them out of the process. So I wholeheartedly believe in this as a society. That piece is critical to to finding other ways to bring candidates along that maybe didn't have the freedom or the opportunity to pursue the college degree or that one certificate. They don't
Yes.
have much.
Yes. And one point I missed on the interviewer part is that we have this
Yeah.
superiority bias, right? Which is interviewers are looking for kind of a reflection of themselves or somebody they've
Yes.
seen before. And we don't actually want that. We want a team that is not the same. They're different and they complement each other's skills and bring in a different perspective. So that is another problem that, we are solving with Higher Finch.
In addition to predictive index, one of the behavioral assessments I use with teams is called Strengths Finder. It's a Gallup tool. I worked at Gallup both in San Francisco and Houston and just love the tool from a development standpoint. And one of the concepts we cover is the idea that stars have sharp points and they should.
Mhm.
And then if we overlay our star with other people's stars that are very different from ours, we can start to fill in our gap, and teams can be well-rounded. Stars should have sharp points, and they should keep sharpening those points and making their gaps bigger and finding people to overlay. And that's exactly what you're saying, these well-rounded teams. Let's find someone who's not like me instead of hiring my image and be like, you're like me, you're going to be great. Turns out you're not like me and you're going to make me better and I'm going to make you better. It's such a different philosophy and such a more powerful way to build an entire organization and team.
Yes. Yes,
So,
no. Yeah, after chatting with you, two things that I take away, right? One,
yeah,
with respect to learning a lot more about predictive index and see how we can take those lessons learned onto Higher Finch.
yes,
And again, a mental model around strengths, people's strengths. Yeah, and see how we can actually get that from the interview as well, because I'm sure there are tells during the interview where that we can measure for
exactly.
strengths are.
Yeah. So much of the talent development I do with teams is 3 steps. Name it. What are my talents? Claim it, really own that personally. And then how do I aim it is the third piece. How do I aim it at the things I'm trying to accomplish in my personal and professional life? And if we can do that for people, talk about helping them be the best version of themselves. They own it, they aim it, those are the super highways in their brains. And that's probably why this work is endlessly fascinating to me, because people are endlessly complicated and capable.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your insight, for the work you're doing on your business, for the rest of the world, and for your clients, of course, and for your teams. How would you like people to get a hold of you or TechJs if they're interested in what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm very active in LinkedIn. You can find
Okay,
me on LinkedIn, Philip Samuelraj. Reach out over the website, but it's a lot more easier. You can directly get to me on LinkedIn, and
great.
I respond to every message.
Super. I'm the same. LinkedIn is a great spot for me. It'll probably be my admin that responds, but she'll get us connected and get on calendars. So my middle name is, or my maiden name is Yurxa. So if you're searching for Melissa Ortiz, I think there are a lot of blonde Ortiz uh, professionals, but my maiden name is Yurxa, Yerxa, and it's my middle name. So if you want to find me there, Philip, thank you so much for your time. This has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you very much, Mel. It was a pleasure talking to you.
You bet. See y'all in the next time on You've Got People Problems. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of You've Got People Problems. If you got something out of the conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with the other leaders in your network, because let's face it, we all have people problems. You can watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on your favorite podcast app. But either way, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.